Well, things are starting to get interesting around the Denver Broncos, and we are here to discuss it on Orange and Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, and Andrew Mason. And is Bo Nix developing bad habits, Mace?
Is he developing bad habits or do he already have them? And they just are habits that need to be worked on.
Did you ever see him throw off his back foot as much as he's thrown now?
Not as much, no. We have seen back foot throws, but seeing the back foot throws when the pocket offers enough time for him to step into his throws. I'm thinking about I think it's the fourth down pass in the second quarter, the one that gets knocked down at the line. There are a few others, and of course the interception in the end zone in the third quarter. These are plays where he does not have where he can step into the throw and he doesn't.
Yep.
That's a concern.
And that's something that he didn't do in college that much. I mean, if the pocket's clean, he's going to have good footwork. And if you need to throw off your back foot, that's what we want to delineate here. Like, if you need to throw off your back foot and you can, that's good. But if you do it when the pocket's clean, that's bad and concerning.
It's concerning because it drops your accuracy rate. All of for Bo Nix to succeed, he has to be an accurate quarterback. That's one of the things that when the Broncos drafted him, they kept they pushed when they were discussing him is how accurate he was and how the accuracy not just on the dump offs but also pushing the ball downfield. And that was, remember the whole thing that Sean Payton said about how you take out all these throws, he's still the most accurate quarterback coming out of college of this year's class. Well, unfortunately for the Broncos, that has yet to manifest in terms of on-field accuracy, and we're seeing him, miss some potential biggies. I mean, look at looking for Nate Adkins and just missing him, and we saw him overthrow Courtland Sutton, in week one. This is he's missing some opportunities here for shots that would help build his confidence.
Yeah, and I've talked about the Greg Dulcich plays, not the drops, because those are obviously on Greg, but there's some times where he throws it to the wrong spot. And for me personally, Mace, I blame Greg on that. Maybe I shouldn't, honestly. Because the kid and Greg certainly don't look like they're on the same page. And that also adds to these layers of problems. We're not done. It's not just throwing off his back foot, but there seems to be some chemistry issues, some timing issues, and certainly some accuracy issues, which need to be cleaned up.
Exactly, and that's why we're sitting here today talking about Bo Nix having the fifth lowest adjusted passer rating for a quarterback who started the first two games of his rookie season since 1970. Now, the guy right below him is John Elway. The guy 3 spots below him is Matthew Stafford. So do not lose all hope just yet. Okay, let's let this thing play out here. But early on, there are some things that have been going on that he's going to have to fix.
Yeah. Unbo like things. That's the best way to put it. And I guess perhaps amongst the surprises for the beginning of the season, it's these type of things. It's him throwing off his back foot when he doesn't need to. That's not like Bo. It's him self-sacking. What is your opinion on that? Because there are times when the self-sack is okay. It's the Peyton Manning thing. Self-sack, that's fine. But there were times where TJ Watt wouldn't touch him and he'd just flop. And that was very odd. And I say this as someone who would be completely soiling myself back there with somebody like TJ Watt and others coming to crush your bones. So I'm not saying anything about Bo's bravery or anything like that, but it's just, is that something he's coached to do? Of like, hey, if it's not there, just self-sack. Is that him getting a little bit nervous? Again, I don't think we've necessarily seen him see ghosts out there. Again, another unbo-like thing. You didn't see ghosts in college. But there's just times when he goes down in these self-sacks, and it's like, well, you didn't Nobody else was coming. Watt's falling down, and you could have stood there and delivered the ball, and yet you also fell down.
Are we calling that a self-sack? I mean,
Was it a flop? I'm trying to be nice.
Watt kind of reached out. Like, it looked like he was
didn't touch him, though.
Yeah. It looked like, it looked like he was tripped at first, and then
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the replay, it shows like he didn't touch him at all. So, if he's tripped, I get it, and again,
you can lose your balance. I think he just, I don't think he self-sacked. I think he just lost. I think he anticipated contact and lost his balance.
Okay, well, that's better then. It's something that is unusual. Again, like,
unexpected.
This guy gets rid of the ball quickly. It's unexpected. Yeah, and it's a bit of a surprise.
I mean, I know this is just going to be an obvious thing to say around Broncos fans, but I mean, was it expected that John Elway would put his hands under Tom Glassick rather than the center?
Right.
I mean, he's a rookie. Stuff's going to happen. I mean, it's why, like, when I mentioned the adjusted passer rating earlier, and I said, okay, well, two of the guys behind him are John Elway and Matthew Stafford, and the guy at the top of that list that I mentioned. Well, I mean, it's the obvious thing to say in Broncos country, but John Elway, no one expected him to put his hands under Tom Glassick's butt instead of the center's when he was a rookie. I mean, these things happen, right? And I mentioned the adjusted passer rating earlier through 2 games. Look, the guy at the top of that list was Marcus Mariota, and let's just say he did not have a stellar career. I mean, he's a backup now. Number 3 on that list is Robert Griffin III. Number 5 on that list is EJ Manuel. So that's why I say let's disseminate, let's analyze, but let's also do so with the understanding that a quarterback can get better and go from there. And then I don't think we're at the point where we're at the milepost yet where it's time to have, the doomsaying conversations. But we are at a milepost where we can say, okay, this is what he needs to work on going forward.
Yeah, we'd have to be in week 12 before I'd really start getting panicked seeing this stuff from Bo. It's just surprising because, there's a level of expectation with Bo.
Let me ask you this. If it's week 12 and you're seeing this and the Broncos at that point are 4-8, what do you think's happening at the quarterback position?
I mean, I would keep him in the whole season.
I would too, but I'm just saying, is there a point where you think that he would relieve Bo Nix at, like, again, if you're talking, like you said, week 12, the week 12 example.
Yeah.
And the mistakes are still being made. Do you think Sean Payton would pull the, would pull the ripcord and go for one of the relief options?
Well, at 4-8, what's the rest of your team look like? Is Bo the reason why you're losing? These are parts of the conversation. And, is Sean Payton going to try to win and pull it out at the end? Like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. See, at 4-8, I wouldn't do it. I'm all about giving him the whole season, and that's the thing. And I mean, it's wild to be having that sort of conversation right now, but people, we see the reactions that are out there right now.
Yes, and the overreactions.
Yeah, I actually say, even though it's a little more than a season, maybe it's because of Drew Lock. I say 18 games, and Bryce Young got 18 games, so that takes you into next year too. And then you but I think the first season's worth of games is a good milepost for a first round quarterback, I think. Unless it's Paxton Lynch or Dan McGuire back in the day, and you just know the guy doesn't have it.
That's a pretty nice pull, Dan McGuire. He was
Dan
tall. Watch out for the
Mark
tall guys.
Mark McGuire's brother. That was like the whole thing when he got drafted. Because at the time, Mark McGuire was slugging for the Oakland A's. And like, oh, well, here's his younger brother. San Diego State. Not a good quarterback.
No.
I
Was
think
Sean
Bo
there
Nix,
at the time?
I think
he was there with Marshall Falk, and McGuire was right before Marshall Falk.
I don't believe Sean Payton.
I don't think he was there yet. Yeah, because McGuire
No,
was like 91 or something, and then Falk was what, 94?
Well,
right?
Okay. He came back to San Diego State. So Sean Payton was an offensive assistant at San Diego State in 1988 and 89, and then went to Indiana State, home of the Sycamores, 1990 and 1991 as a running backs and wide receivers coach. So he was, that's the other thing. I mean, he was offensive assistant, but wasn't necessarily coaching quarterbacks. So hang on here. San Diego State, Dan McGuire. Yeah, 1989. So their paths did cross on the 1989 San Diego State Aztecs.
Okay, there you go.
Which finished 6-5-1.
All I know is I had a lot of Dan McGuire rookie cards.
All I also know is that that season was so long ago, Cease, that 3 of the schools on San Diego State's schedule don't have football anymore and haven't had football for a long time.
Nice. Okay. Sean Payton talked about Bo Nix. So let's give a listen and hear what Coach had to say about his young quarterback.
So a couple things you see on tape. You see early on a struggle inside, which forces him out of the pocket. And then you do see later in the second half a cleaner pocket and then him hurry it. So it's developing the confidence of climbing, developing the confidence within the framework of your protection. He does have good pocket presence for the most part. You know, he's not someone that's just going to look to take off and look to scramble. And so we got to build on that and make sure it kind of begins with that relative to the design of what you're trying to do in the drop back passing game.
Good pocket presence for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Those last 4 words carry some weight there.
They carry a lot of weight. I also like what he said about how early in the game there's trouble in the middle, and then later in the game he's got good protection, but then he rushes it. So it's a little on Bo, maybe getting a little shell-shocked from the first half, and then the second half responding a little bit faster than he should. So they're figuring it out. It's just the timing is a little bit off. And then there's the late drives. Whether Pittsburgh was playing prevent or whatever, but like there's the late drives where maybe you could build some confidence. And so you see some things, you're seeing some flashes, you're seeing some good. It's not all bad with Bo Nix. It's just some things a little bit off. That's the best way to put it, I think.
I think that's the best way to put it as well. And interesting, he talks about pressure coming from the inside. The offensive line's not off to as good a start as it was last year. How much do you think, and especially when you talk about pressure from the inside, how much do you think losing Lloyd Cushenberry matters in this equation?
It might matter more than losing Justin Simmons. And I didn't forecast that before the start of the season. I always felt like, and Lloyd was good, but you feel like you can get good play from Wattenberg, and he'll grow and he'll develop as well.
Yes.
But Simmons was the one I thought, okay, that'll sting a little bit. And there's been some plays here and there, and certainly you're not getting your hands on the ball like Justin would. But no, up front, that middle pressure, that center position, like Miners is having to do more. Powers is having to do more because you're having to cover for a young guy, which again is just kind of natural in this progression.
Yeah, because one reason I look at the center spot is last year Lloyd Cushenberry, over the course of a season, according to Pro Football Focus's data, 14 pressures allowed, so fewer than 1 per game. So far, Luke Wattenberg this season, 4 pressures allowed. So that's 2 per game from the center spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone right there, the pressure you're getting from a specific spot on the offensive line has doubled.
Yep, it's doubled and it causes problems. The Broncos also, in my opinion, getting in their own way. And we'll see how these things figure it out. Let's talk about Bo's interception.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
miscommunication.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, like the mystery.
A miscommunication. Josh Reynolds kind of stopping his route there in the end zone. There's a lot going on. Now, the thing is, it's with Bo Nix. Okay, what's within his control? Well, this is one of the back foot throws that we were talking about. So, regardless of everything else going on, Bo's got something to clean up here. If you've got, if the route is run, if Josh, you see Josh is kind of stop there in the end zone, right? As if he's kind of running out that route, basically, what you're hoping is you're going to get the attention of the safety and you're going to create some space. And then it's a play that ideally should work. That should work. It's not a, and this is, you and I talk about this, is the offense passe, and it's not passe here. The play design is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's an execution thing. It's not a play call thing. It's not a design thing. It's the execution.
Right. And then it's your quarterback throwing off his back foot and getting asked about it a couple of times after the game.
Hey, Bo. I guess first things on the interception in the end zone, can you just take us through? Sean said there was a bus on the route too, but can you just take us through sort of like what you saw on that play? Because at that point, obviously, you guys
that falls on me. That was just a bad decision. Can't have that.
Bo, can you take us through the interception in the end zone?
Chop back, threw it to the other team.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with the responses. I mean, he did kind of, when Parker Gabriel asked the question, he does start answering before the question has been completed. And then, D-Mac in his own inimitable way is, trying to get something else like we all try to do. And Bo was having none of that. The thing is, you and I have talked about the edge that Bo Nix can have. His response there reminded me of the response he had to you back in Mobile when you asked about him working under center.
Right.
It had that kind of snappy edge to it. Like, hey, don't bring that to me right now, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I know that's getting a lot of talk out there, but I don't have a problem with it either. As someone who's been on the other end of that, like, it's fine. I actually like that. He's pissed off, man.
Yeah,
he's got to be. He's not playing well.
I do feel like there are people out there who are looking for a reason to take a shot at Bo Nix. Like I posted one of his statements when he talked about kind of keeping things in perspective after the game, about, kind of having a big picture thing. Hey, it's not just your whole life. Right. And, there's some good, there's some good responses, and and then you see a couple of people saying, "Oh, well, what would Peyton Manning say?" This one person said, "Peyton Manning, football is not everything." Doesn't sound right. It's life. It's life. Someone saying this guy does not have football in his blood, so he won't be an elite quarterback in the league. Okay, timeout. That's a stupid response. Okay. to say that somebody who's grown up around the game, immersed in the game, father, college quarterback,
Legend.
coached, what became a coach, coached him up, to say that he doesn't have football in his blood. That's the dumbest thing I could ever that you could say there. The exact opposite is true. If anything, when he says that, he's trying to remind himself basically that this too is going to pass. Now you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work and find your way out of this to make sure that, as Joe Lombardi has said, that you don't make the same mistake twice, or that you don't constantly repeat them. That you're able to grow and get better. But man, oh gosh. Oh yeah,
It's not a great
I shouldn't.
response.
I shouldn't fixate on that. But you see, there are people that after 2 games, and we see it in the draft community as well. There are people who are taking victory laps after 2 games because Bo Nix is sitting there with a 51.0 rating, which is just lunacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there's going to be a week coming up here, and maybe it happens, pardon me, in Tampa on Sunday. Hopefully he plays better than my voice right now. Pardon me. But there's a week coming for Bo Nix where he dazzles and shocks the hell out of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's this week. There's going to be a week where you watch him and say, okay, he's getting it.
Mm-hmm.
He's learned from those mistakes. This is all part of the process here. Let's sit back and let it play out. Like I always say, talk about the things from game to game, but talk about them in the context of, okay, he's got to work on this. And like you said, if it's week 12 and the same miscues are happening and he's in the same spot, then you've got some cause for concern, but not here in September.
No cause for concern here. People just making too many statements about every rookie quarterback. It's not just Bo.
Caleb Williams doesn't look too good right now.
Yeah,
Jane Daniels right now looks the best of the 3. I'd also say he's probably the most protected schematically of the 3.
Right, and he's also throwing a bunch of short stuff, like it's a bunch of dinking and dunking. So there you go. All right, Mace, let's wrap this one up. By the way, it wouldn't be better with Jarrett Stidham. If we were sitting here watching Stidham go through against these 2 teams specifically, it wouldn't be better with Jarrett Stidham.
I mean, Jarrett Stidham last year, when the Broncos went against the Raiders, got sacked 6 times. Bo Nix got sacked by the Pittsburgh Steelers with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and the interior pressure they have. He got sacked twice. And one of them was the quote-unquote self-sack. If Stidham had been out there last Sunday, I think that number would have been 5 or 6 easily.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have created a different set of problems for the offense. A set of problems that Sean Payton was trying to avoid when he moved on from Russell Wilson and took the $53 billion crater in the cap to do it. And, that's another thing, because not to make excuses. I believe in reasons, not excuses. That's that plus the draft capital you sacrificed for Russell Wilson is one of the reasons why you're sitting here looking at the talent on the roster and saying that spot's lacking, that spot's lacking, that spot's lacking.
Just be patient with Bo, everybody. People have the attention span of a ferret on a double espresso. It's like football doesn't work that way.
Nice.
Football doesn't work that way.
It doesn't, but people think it does.
Right.
Because they saw CJ Stroud last year. CJ Stroud had some stinkers too, but CJ Stroud's also an outlier example. You could argue he had the best rookie season at quarterback since Dan Marino. 40 years between those seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yep.
Be patient. And let's see the Broncos continue to work on things, and let's see Bo Nix continue to change and grow and develop. We'll be here
Yep.
for all of that, as we often do on Orange and Blue today. Now, 7 days a week. I did change the name of the post-game show.
I know. Yeah, might as well. It's branding.
Yeah, exactly. And I still use the same studio, so I think it still says Orange and Blue today at the corner. So,
Yep.
anyway. All right, he's Andrew Mason. I'm Cecil Lammey. Mace, before we're out of here, we need help on YouTube. How can people help us out?
Like,
Comment,
share,
subscribe,
and hit that notification bell. Ding.
so that you
Never
miss
uh
vid.
You like it when I throw those curveballs at you.
I do. It makes it fun. That's for sure. All right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.